NIAC 61850 Goose messages are used to send event data between devices in the power system. These Goose messages are Ethernet multicast frames, or in the case of the newer routable Goose, UDP multicast frames. Multicast means a device can send one message and have it duplicated out to any number of receivers or subscribers. This technology can make it very difficult for the responsible engineers to understand what's going on in their networks. With a few Goose, as you typically see in a lab or a demo, this is a fairly easy task. However, the wilds of a substation environment can be quite different. The SISCO GOOSE Monitor helps you sort out these complex environments and displays the system information in a graphical, easy to understand format. Okay, so let's look at how the GOOSE Monitor can help you analyze the traffic in your network. The GOOSE Monitor can store a number of configurations from different systems. We'll start a new one here in 61850, the information that tells us what publishers and subscribers are exchanging information comes from our SCD file. So we'll start by loading that file. Here we can remove some devices if we didn't want to see everything that was going on in the system. In this case we do, so we want to look at them all. And then we'll parse the SCL file. SCL, of course, is text, it's XML. And this is describing all the connections between the various devices in this system, so it's going to take a moment to parse that. Alright, so the SCL parser has identified a couple little errors here and tells us where to go to look for a log for more information. It gives us a list of all the devices and access points we found in the file. We need to give the configuration a name, and we can save the configuration. Now we won't have to parse the SCL file again to restart this configuration. And we're going to say yes to load it, which requires restarting the application. It's then going to come back up with the file loaded. And on the main screen here, you can see the main part of the GOOSE Monitor is the graphical representation of the devices and Goose streams in the system. The circles on the diagram here are the IEDs in the system, and the arrows are the Goose streams between them. So the green circles indicate that we're able to connect to the device. We've got a 61850 client connecting to the server and querying its LGOS information. LGOS is a logical node in 61850 that allows a server to describe the status of its Goose subscriptions. And so for every green circle here, we can quickly and easily see that that server, that subscriber, is getting all of the information it expects to get. Everything's in good shape. We've got a couple of problems here. Number 19, the red circle. The red indicates that we're not able to connect this device at all. This happens to be because that device is not running. I've disabled that in my simulator to demonstrate what's going on here. So 19 is not connected at all. We have red arrows here that indicate the GOOSE Monitor is not seeing the Goose that 19 is supposed to be publishing. Of course, we're not seeing it because he's not there. And then number 16 is orange, showing that we can connect to 16, but one or more of his LGOS is telling us we aren't getting the Goose we're expecting. Of course we're not, because it's not on the wire, because 19's not there. Now in a system like this, we've got a lot going on. In order to see more clearly where our problems are, which is the goal of troubleshooting, to identify the problems and narrow things down, we come in here to a focus on mechanism. I want to say a focus on 19, that's where I know my problem is. And this reduces the drawing to only the devices which we're exchanging data with. It allows us to quickly simplify it, narrow in on our problems, and to put it back to the whole system is there. We've got a couple of different views in our visualizer, depending on the job done and personal preference mainly. Sometimes these can look more clearly in different formats. Personally, I like this one the best for most cases. So on the top right left here, we have a list of all the devices in the system, and I can select between those devices either here by clicking on the circles over here. And we've got 3 columns of red light, green light, high level status information. We've got alerts that show us when there's been a problem, and we've got 2 different kinds of alerts. We've got active alerts and latched alerts in 61850. Goose messages are multicast messages. They're not acknowledged, so sometimes they get lost. That's expected. It's baked into the protocol. We have a retransmission strategy. So sometimes we'll see a transient fault. When that happens, we latch that so that you can still see it in the logs, even after it is cleared and the current status is good. And then we have the status of each publication and subscription in each device. As we select the device, either here or in the right-hand side, it changes this window, which gives us the detailed information about one device. Here we can go down through the model and see the information in here. Get out of this LGOS. You can see we have some alerts going on here. These LGOS are not configured correctly. If I go down to 19, this is the one that is offline. We show here there's a connection error, and so we know that we don't have any information valid in this sample. So again, the SCD file gives us the overall system view in 61850. That tells us what goose we expect to find on the wire. If we have goose streams in the system that do not show up on the wire, or we have goose on the wire that we didn't find in the SCD file, either of those cases we call rogue goose. And we have the rogue goose detector down here, and that pops up this tool. So this tool is going to list any goose differences between what's on the wire and what's in the system configuration file. You can see here we've got a couple of devices that have duplicate IP addresses. That's no good. These are the signals that we're expecting from that device 19 that's disabled. So it's showing up as an expired TAL here because those goose aren't appearing on the wire. Of course, if for some reason we didn't have an SCD file, which is not great for 61850 system, but occasionally you have to work with what you got. In the case we didn't have an SCD file, all the goose we see on the wire would show up here in the rogue goose detector, and we'd be able to find out what information we can about each of the goose we do see. Now, without any subscription information, this picture doesn't provide a lot of information, so there's not much we can show there without the SCD file. Another tool we have here is a goose statistics tool. This is a list of all the goose streams in the system, and it will keep up with the statistics of each of them. We can see here state changes have been changing on us as every time a data in the goose data set changes, we get a state number change. That's shown there. If we have any errors in the stream, we will see all of those summarized here. So if we look down at, for instance, this one, we can see his changes. We don't have 19 here. There we go, there's 19. We've got one expired towel count because it's never appeared on the wire, and no changes otherwise. If we really need to get down to the bytes on the wire, we can go into the packet monitor tool. This allows us to capture the raw packets on the wire. We'll capture it there. And this would allow us to view the raw frames in the wire, or we can store this as a PCAP file to export if we need to move it to other tools or exchange it with other engineers. And of course, down here at the bottom, we have a status window that gives us the output of what's happening in the system. So that's the basic overview of our Goose monitor. Cisco has been involved in 61850 since the original conception of the standard. If there's anything we can do to help you understand the standard or look at it in our tools, please reach out. Thank you.